coming through. So after 5 years, what happens is that we've bought shares into the qualifying company, and what happens is that we then buy the shares back to actually return, and so that the shares, it's like selling the shares on the stock market. You get cash, whatever cash you get out, whether it's 200,000 or on a 400,000 investment, 200,000 or 800,000, it doesn't matter, whatever you get back, you will be subject to capital gains tax, which is roughly about 18%, call it a fifth of that. So, and that you withdraw, you elect to withdraw it. Our job as the financiers is to actually, we call it an assured exit. In other words, it's not a guaranteed exit, but we will assist companies to actually exit the investment, so that nobody sits there in an unlisted company that they're not sure what to do with. But there are, if I could suggest, there are other plans for investors, because we're looking at a gate to plate type of option. This is something that we are looking at as part of the investment, to actually build a supply chain where we would give investors preference to access of the produce that is actually produced. That is one way that we can enhance the returns, not necessarily in a financial sense, but in a quality of life sense. So there's quite a, there's quite a bit that that we can do to enhance the investor experience, right, beyond beyond just the financial returns.
Chris, there was a question from Jan van der Westhuizen, and he asked, how do we entice investors to invest in 12J? And I'm going to start off, Chris, Jan, because, when I started off, we need to understand, especially your small business owners and your farmers, they all have tax advisors. So often they don't pay taxes.
They don't pay taxes.
Yeah. Let me just get someone here. Okay. And so the best people to really target is people that are formally employed and earning high salaries, because what you find with them is that every month they get their salary after taxes. And at the end of the year, we know that the high income taxpayers pay 45%. They can claim all of that back and invest it back into 12J. So that is a wonderful way. I was just not sure, Jan, that whether you wanted also to know, how do we attract QCs? QCs is what we call qualifying companies that we can invest in. And just to answer that quickly, there is an investment committee in the share class that looks at applications. So you can submit your application to S12J at impactinafrica.com. I think it's .com, Chris. But and then you can send that on to us. But remember, at the end of the day, that the investment committee wants to invest in those projects that has most value and return on investment for the rest of the investors. So obviously it has to go through a process. You've got the on the chat box, you have the any other questions that you would like to ask?
Yeah, I think if I could actually add to the answer, how do we attract investors to this? It takes a lot of, how could you say, education, if you like. In other words, it's information sharing, which is quite laborious, but we enjoy that. The biggest problem that I find is that people don't believe it, or they're scared of SARS and say, what if we upset SARS by doing this investment? And in fact, SARS was always surprised of how little people used it. But I think the biggest problem, the barrier to entry was to actually find the investment money to actually access the investment. And by doing it in a structured way, we've managed to crack the nut. Probably too late. I wish we did it 3 years earlier to actually get people into investing. And with a partnership arrangement, we can actually even get people earning less than R1 million as partners with other people earning less than R1 million to actually invest. And so we've managed to get a lot of people to invest. And agriculture is certainly, a high priority sector for us.
Any other questions that you would like to ask? Just to re-emphasize, we will be sending everyone participating in this webinar. We'll be sending you the slides as well as a link to the recordings so that you can always refer back to that. Chris, any last comments from your side?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is what we find is people wait till the deadline to invest, and we would encourage people to invest sooner. The one thing, by setting up these 12-year funds, we are also looking to set up, there's certain towns that we've targeted to actually set up community funds so that people can actually help circulate funds back through their community and also enjoy an investment at the same time. Because that's the way we're going to actually revive the rural economy, is to make sure that we circulate capital that is created in rural areas back in the rural areas and the small towns. We're not going to get big companies to do that. We're going to do that through small businesses and our own conscious effort to make sure that we can actually recirculate capital within communities. That is one way to become, for communities to become more resilient and also to become wealthier. And part of doing this 12-year investment, we're then able to unlock other money, right? And that helps to actually generate a positive, what we call virtuous circle, where it unlocks other money. We have proof of concept. We can use pension funds to unlock money even further, into, and that helps to into areas and create in rural areas. And also our small towns. At the moment, the big cities and the system is sucking resources out and without much return coming back. And if anything, your larger companies are looking to withdraw from the smaller towns if they don't see enough business there. But we're looking to turn that around to the extent that we can.
There's a question or a comment by Johannes Meintjes that he's interested in agricultural imports and exports from South Africa to SADC, and soft commodity investment is fundamental. Is there a way that, and it's a good question that people often ask, can 12J be used outside the boundaries of South Africa or not?
The answer is yes, but as long as the investment fund, right, invests most of the money in South Africa. But if you, for instance, need to establish, let's say you need to export something, let's say to Europe, but you need to actually invest in some infrastructure in Europe to do that, or you invest in exporting to Nigeria or something like that, then you need to actually establish some infrastructure to help support those exports. You can use Section 12J money for that, yes.
I must say we've got amazing business plans that we received from quite a number of people already. There's someone doing blueberries. He's got an offtake agreement to Europe, but what he needs to do is to double his capacity. And that would be an ideal investment. Then there's people looking at moringa, and they're looking at saffron, and they're looking at quite a number of other things. So it's just amazing to see what can be done.
Yeah. If I could also add, what we are trying to do is that I think to a large extent what I call our high volume, low value type of agricultural output like maize and wheat, and that is largely looked after in the world. Where we believe is the opportunity, especially for small farmers, is things like ginger, mushrooms, rabbits, small livestock, what we call high value of agricultural activity, something that can actually you can do in a small area, because that's the problem in Africa, a whole lot of small plots. So if you turn what's seen as a problem, right, and rather go for things that can be supported on small plots, it is actually quite helpful from a point of view of expanding the rural economy.
Got the next steps on the screen. There's a commitment to invest form that you need to complete. There's a securing deposit that needs to be put in place. And as Chris said, please don't wait until 99, because it puts so much pressure on everyone if we do that. So rather start the process ASAP, as soon as possible. You can always, if you don't comply with the 12J requirements, it can always be changed. Hey, Chris?
Yeah, let's put it this way. If you invest before the 30th, your investment is included in the net and will be valid, and you'll have a deduction for the current tax year to make, with 12J. But if you don't do that, right, let's say you wake up and say, right, well, let's do it in July, then the opportunity is over. You cannot go back. So we need to prove to SARS that you've invested before the 30th of June, and that's why that's, again, one of the roles of the securing deposit, is that we can actually prove there was a financial transaction before the 30th of June, but we can come to a payment arrangement as well. It's an important part of the actual, meeting SARS's requirements, the regulatory requirements. So compliance is quite important, and that makes it, makes some complexity. But for most people, in fact, I was dealing with somebody today. They had their taxes behind. They had done the investment last year, so we were trying to help them. This helped them to get their taxes in order. They finalized their taxes on Monday. Their refund is already in the account. This is not something that surprises SARS. It's their system, and no 12J investment has triggered an audit, for instance. Some people do get audits, and the 12J is certainly not a problem in the audit. It's other things that might trigger an audit within their tax affairs. Most of our investors have submitted their 12J certificates and got their refunds with no issues. It's a fairly smooth, seamless process. It's embedded on the e-filing system. It's not something to be afraid of. And it's not too good to be true. It actually is true, and it's the closest thing that you're going to get to virtually free investment.
Okay, it sounds to me, or it seems to me, that we've answered all the questions. Just to confirm once again, we will be sending everyone that's on this call a copy of the slides, as well as a link to the recording. I must confess, the person that normally does the technology, he's on leave. So it was up to me and Dave to do the technology, and I did the recording a little bit late, so please accept my apology for that. Then secondly, we're going to have a number of these webinars, because we realized that everyone couldn't participate today. So if you've got any friends or colleagues, or even your tax advisor that you need to convince, These are free webinars. We will continue to send out the invites to them. And let's see if we can get as many people as possible to join us in growing South Africa, because that's what it's all about. And as Stu said right in the beginning, agriculture was the one sector that outgrew all the other sectors in the last year. And just imagine what can be achieved if we all work together. Once again, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Q in absentia. Thank you, all the others. And you've got the email address, s12j@impactinafrica.com. If you'd like to contact me, my number is 082-4529-306. You can send me a WhatsApp, and we would gladly, oh, there's my cell number. Thank you, Dave. We would gladly assist wherever we can. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you soon and hope to hear from your investment capacity soon. Goodbye.
Baie dankie, Wessel.
I wanted to end the meeting and I realized I can't. You will have to.
Ek sal dit doen. Baie dankie. Alles van die beste mense.